Emma had always dreamed of a better life, one where she could pursue her passion for art and escape the daily grind of working as a maid. But fate had dealt her a different hand, and she found herself employed in the grand mansion of Aidan Lancaster, a millionaire businessman known for his success and charm, despite the long hours and demanding work. Emma found solace in the quiet moments she spent alone in the mansion's vast halls. Whenever she had a chance, she would slip away to a secluded room and pour her heart onto a canvas, creating vibrant paintings that captured the beauty she saw in the world around her. It was her secret escape, a way to keep her dreams alive in a life that often felt suffocating. Aidan Lancaster was a man who had everything: wealth, power, and a fiancée who was the envy of high society. Julia Montrose was a stunning beauty with an icy demeanor, always perfectly poised and in control. She had set her sights on Aidan long ago, drawn to his fortune and the status that came with being his wife. Emma knew her place in the household and kept her distance from Aidan and Julia, focusing on her work and her secret passion. But one fateful day, everything changed. Aidan had returned home early from a business trip, and as he walked through the quiet halls of the mansion, he heard a soft melody coming from one of the rooms. Intrigued, he followed the sound and found himself standing in the doorway of Emma's secret studio. There, amid the canvases and paints, stood Emma, lost in her own world as she worked on a stunning portrait. Aidan watched in silent awe as her delicate hands moved across the canvas, bringing the image to life with each brushstroke. In that moment, he saw her in a new light, not just as a maid, but as a talented artist with a soul that yearned for something more. As Emma turned and saw Aidan standing there, a look of surprise and fear crossed her face. She had been caught, her secret exposed. But to her astonishment, Aidan didn't seem angry. Instead, he stepped closer, his eyes filled with wonder and admiration. "You have an incredible gift," he said softly, reaching out to touch one of the paintings. "Why have you kept this hidden?" Emma felt her heart race as she tried to find the words to explain. "I didn't want to overstep my bounds," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "I know my place here, and I didn't want to risk losing my job." Aidan shook his head, a small smile playing on his lips. "You have nothing to fear," he reassured her. "Your talent deserves to be celebrated, not hidden away." From that moment on, something shifted between them. Aidan began to see Emma in a new light, not just as an employee, but as a person with dreams and aspirations of her own. He found himself drawn to her gentle spirit and quiet strength, and he couldn't help but feel a growing sense of connection to her. But Julia was quick to notice the change in Aidan's demeanor, and her jealousy began to simmer beneath the surface. She had always seen Emma as beneath her, a mere servant who existed to cater to her every whim. The idea that Aidan might see something more in the young maid was a threat to everything Julia had worked for, and she was determined to put a stop to it. As the days passed, Julia's cruelty towards Emma intensified. She would find fault with even the smallest of tasks, berating her in front of the other staff and making her feel small and insignificant. But Emma refused to let Julia's hate break her spirit. She held on to the memory of that moment in her studio with Aidan. The way he had looked at her with such admiration and respect, she knew that her feelings for Aidan were growing stronger with each passing day. But she also knew that he was engaged to Julia, and that their love could never be. Still, she couldn't help but dream of a different life, one where she was free to pursue her art and be with the man she loved. Aidan, too, found himself torn between his growing feelings for Emma and his obligation to Julia. He knew that breaking off the engagement would cause a scandal, but he also couldn't deny the way his heart raced every time he was near Emma. He saw in her a kindred spirit, someone who understood the weight of expectations and the desire for something more. As the tensions in the mansion reached a boiling point, Emma and Aidan knew that they were standing on the precipice of something life-changing. They could either take the safe path and deny their feelings, or they could take a leap of faith and risk everything for a chance at true love. But with Julia's malice growing stronger by the day, and the expectations of society bearing down on them, the path ahead was far from certain. They would have to find the strength within themselves to fight for what they believed in, no matter the cost. Little did they know, the greatest test of their love was yet to come, and it would take all of their courage and determination to weather the storm that lay ahead. Here are parts 2 and 3 of the story. Part 2, the unexpected discovery as the days turned into weeks. Emma found herself growing more and more comfortable in Aiden's presence. Their stolen moments together in her art studio had become a sanctuary, a place where they could escape the pressures of the outside world and simply be themselves. Aiden was fascinated by Emma's talent, and he loved to watch her work, marveling at the way she could capture the essence of a moment or an emotion with just a few strokes of her brush. He began to bring her art supplies, secretly ordering paints and canvases, and having them delivered to the mansion. Emma was touched by his generosity, but she also knew that they were treading on dangerous ground. Julia's suspicions had grown, and she had taken to lurking around every corner, her eyes always watching for any sign of impropriety. One day, as Emma was working on a particularly challenging piece, she lost track of time and didn't hear Julia enter the room. Suddenly, she felt a sharp tug on her hair, and she turned to see Julia standing over her, a look of pure rage on her face. "What do you think you're doing?" Julia hissed, her grip on Emma's hair tightening. "You think you can steal my fiancé away with your little art projects?" Emma tried to explain that it wasn't like that she and Aiden were just friends, but Julia wouldn't listen. She tore the canvas from the easel and threw it across the room, sending paints and brushes flying. "You're nothing but a worthless maid," she spat, her eyes blazing with hatred, "and you'll never be anything more." With that, she stormed out of the room, leaving Emma shaken and heartbroken. She knew that she had to end things with Aiden, that their relationship could never be, but the thought of losing him was almost too much to bear. Aiden, too, was struggling with his feelings. He knew that he was falling in love with Emma, but he also knew that he had a duty to his family and to Julia. He had always prided himself on being a man of honor, and the thought of breaking his word was tearing him apart. But when he saw the bruises on Emma's arms, the way she flinched away from his touch, he knew that he couldn't stand by and watch her suffer any longer. He confronted Julia, demanding to know what she had done. Julia was unapologetic, her eyes cold and calculating. "I did what I had to do to protect what's mine," she said, her voice like ice. "And if you can't see that, then maybe you're not the man I thought you were." Aiden felt something snap inside of him, a sense of clarity that he had never known before. He realized that he had been living a lie, that the life he had built with Julia was nothing more than a facade. He turned to Emma, his eyes filled with love and determination. "I choose you," he said, his voice steady and sure. "I choose us." Emma felt her heart swell with joy, but she also knew that their path forward would not be an easy one. They would have to face the wrath of Julia and the judgment of society, but she knew that with Aiden by her side, she could face anything. Part 3. A Love Unmasked. The news of Aiden and Emma's love spread like wildfire through the mansion, and soon the whole town was buzzing with gossip. Julia was beside herself with rage. She vowed to make them pay for their betrayal. She began to spread rumors about Emma, telling anyone who would listen that she was a gold digger and a thief. She even went so far as to hire a private investigator to dig up dirt on her past. But Aiden and Emma refused to let her hate destroy them. They knew that their love was real, and they were determined to fight for it, no matter the cost. One evening, as they were walking together in the garden, Julia confronted them, a cruel smile on her face. "I have something to show you," she said, holding up a folder. "Something that will prove once and for all what a liar and a cheat you really are." She opened the folder and pulled out a stack of photographs, throwing them at Emma's feet. "Look at them," she hissed. "Look at the proof of your sordid past." Emma bent down and picked up one of the photos, her heart racing as she saw what it contained. It was a picture of her taken years ago, when she had been homeless and living on the streets. She was dirty and thin, her clothes ragged and torn. But as she looked closer, she realized that the photo had been altered. Someone had photoshopped her face onto the body of another woman, a woman who was clearly engaging in illegal activities. Aiden snatched the photos from Julia's hands, his eyes blazing with anger. "How dare you?" he growled. "How dare you try to destroy the woman I love with your lies and your deceit?" Julia's smile faltered, and for a moment she looked uncertain. But then she rallied, her voice dripping with venom. "You'll never be able to prove it," she sneered. "And even if you could, who would believe you? You're just a maid, and he's a millionaire. Who do you think they'll side with in the end?" But Aiden wasn't listening. He was already on the phone with his lawyer, demanding that they take action against Julia for defamation of character. He knew that it would be a long and difficult battle, but he was willing to fight for Emma, no matter what it took. In the end, the truth prevailed. The private investigator that Julia had hired came forward, admitting that he had been paid to fabricate the evidence against Emma. The photos were proven to be fakes, and Julia was exposed as a liar and a fraud. Aiden and Emma were vindicated, but they knew that their journey was far from over. They had to face the consequences of their actions, the judgment of their families and friends. But as they stood together, hand in hand, they knew that they could weather any storm. They had each other, and that was all that mattered. In the years that followed, Emma's art flourished, and she became a celebrated painter, known for her stunning portraits and vibrant landscapes. Aiden stood by her side every step of the way, supporting her dreams and loving her with every fiber of his being. They faced many challenges along the way, but they never wavered in their commitment to each other. They had found a love that was rare and precious, a love that had been forged in the fires of adversity, and as they looked back on their journey, they knew that every moment, every struggle had been worth it. They had found each other, and in doing so, they had found themselves. Their love story became a legend, a tale of two hearts that had beaten as one against all odds. And though the world around them might change and shift, their love remained constant, a shining beacon of hope and inspiration for all who knew them. Here is the conclusion of Part 3. As the years passed, Emma and Aiden's love only grew stronger. They faced the challenges of building a life together head-on, never wavering in their commitment to each other. Emma's art career flourished, and she became known throughout the city as a talented and sought-after painter. Her work was displayed in galleries and museums, and she was commissioned to create portraits for some of the most influential people in society. Aiden, too, found a new sense of purpose in his life. He stepped back from his business dealings and focused on philanthropy, using his wealth and influence to make a positive difference in the world. Together, he and Emma founded a charity that provided art, education, and resources to underprivileged children, giving them the chance to explore their own creativity and passions. Despite their busy lives, Emma and Aiden always made time for each other. They took long walks in the park, shared quiet dinners by candlelight, and talked about their hopes and dreams for the future. They knew that they had found something rare and precious in each other, and they were determined to cherish it always. As they sat together on the porch swing of their home one evening, watching the sun set over the hills, Emma turned to Aiden with a smile. "Do you remember the first time you saw me painting in the mansion?" she asked softly. Aiden nodded, his eyes twinkling with memories. "I knew then that you were someone special," he said. "Someone who could see the beauty in the world, even when it was hidden away." Emma leaned her head on his shoulder, feeling the warmth of his love surrounding her. "And I knew then that you were someone who could see the beauty in me," she whispered, "even when I couldn't see it myself." They sat in silence for a moment, listening to the gentle chirping of the birds and the rustling of the leaves in the breeze. And as the last rays of sunlight faded into the horizon, they knew that they had found their happily ever after. Their love story would be remembered for generations to come, a testament to the power of true love and the strength of the human spirit. And though the world around them might change and shift, their love would remain a constant light, guiding them through whatever challenges lay ahead. As Emma and Aiden held each other close, they knew that they had found something that many people spend their whole lives searching for, a love that was unbreakable, it's unshakable, and true. And they knew that, no matter what the future might bring, they would face it together, hand in hand and heart to heart. Their journey had been long and winding, full of twists and turns and unexpected detours. But in the end, it had led them to exactly where they were meant to be, in each other's arms, surrounded by the love and light that they had created together. And as they looked out at the world before them, they knew that anything was possible. With love as their guide and each other by their side, they could conquer any obstacle, overcome any challenge, and build a life that was filled with joy, purpose, and endless possibility. So they stepped forward into their future, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. And though the road might not always be easy, they knew that they would walk it together, forever bound by the love that had brought them together and the strength that would carry them through.